Ever felt stuck with a problem or with many problems? Life is essentially made of small to large problems that we need to solve to move forward. In this video, I'll walk you through 7 key mental models to solve your problems powerfully. I'll describe what they are, where they come from, and how you can apply them to your problems every day. Put your thinking hat on. Let's go. My name is Greg Angelbert. I've had about a 20-year corporate career where I went from being a trainee to eventually a vice president and managing director of a business. And from managing myself to eventually about 1,000 people. Today I'm a master coach helping people, teams, organizations to know themselves, to design their future selves, and to become their future selves. Problems in day-to-day conversations have a negative connotation, but they don't have to. A problem is a situation, question, or challenge that presents an obstacle or ambiguity and requires a solution. It's something that needs to be solved or overcome in order for you to achieve a specific goal, a specific destination. Now we've actually talked about the definition of the term problem. Now how do we actually define a problem itself? You do it by understanding and articulating a problem clearly. Then you can frame it, which allows you to set the boundaries and the context of the problem. So how do you do problem definition and framing in a practical way? First, ask the right questions. What exactly is the problem? Who does it affect? When and where does it occur? Then make sure that you don't jump to conclusions without this understanding. You can use visual ways to represent the problem, like a mind map for instance. Then determine who is involved. What is part of the problem? If your project is running late, is it a lack of time or resources? Identify constraints and recognize opportunities. One of the best methodologies about building powerful problem statement is Six Sigma. In the description below, you will find a link that will tell you about how to use the Six Sigma methodology for problem framing and definition. It's quite powerful. Now think of a problem you face, define it, frame it, and share in the comments below. Let's learn from each other. The scientific method is probably the most established and respected way to find solutions to problems. It is a systematic approach to investigating phenomena, acquiring new knowledge, or correcting previous understandings. It's made of several key steps: observing, hypothesizing, experimenting, and analyzing. This is definitely not a new kid on the block. It was probably performed in ancient Egypt, was partially articulated by Aristotle in ancient Greece, and refined by many others across the centuries until it reaches almost final version with Isaac Newton. So how do you apply the scientific method? First step, observation. Carefully notice the details about a situation or a problem. It's a bit like being a detective. Like your plants, if they are wilting, it can be the color of the leaves, it can be the soil conditions, the amount of sunlight, etc. Second step, hypothesis. It is a testable statement, a prediction of what might be happening. The plants are wilting because they have received too much sunlight. Third step, experimenting. Time to test our hypothesis. You might place your plant in the shade and see the difference. This is about controlled testing. Fourth step, analyzing. We look at the results of the experiment and we check if our original hypothesis was correct. If not, we learn, we refine our understanding, and we commit to a new hypothesis that we want to test again. One mindset to have when you're using the scientific method is to turn on your curiosity. Be like a private eye. Critical thinking is the ability to think clearly, rationally, and objectively analyzing information to make well-informed decisions. It's all about thinking better, which is essential for problem solving. Critical thinking is as old as its etymology, and it's probably even older than that. The earliest records of critical thinking date back to ancient Greece, again, with the Socrates questioning method. He used it as a form of cooperative argumentation, and in principle it was done to refute that authority was good enough to ensure accurate and verified knowledge. What are the steps to use critical thinking? First, clearly identify the question or problem that you're addressing. For a career change, you might ask, what career aligns with my skills and interests? Then look for evidence, facts, and opinions about the topic. For career change, you can research industries, you can talk to professionals in the field, and you can make sure that you understand your skills and interests. Then analyze any assumptions, any biases that might be influencing your thinking. You might have a bias towards a certain dream job, but is it realistic? And also pay attention to all the stories you're telling yourself which are not proven. Then evaluate the alternatives with their pros and cons. Consider various career paths, for instance. Finally, make a decision. You might still be uncertain in some ways, but you should still take a decision, because otherwise you fall into analysis paralysis. If you want to know more about how to take powerful decisions in your life, then check this out. You like this video so far? Then you know what to do. Subscribe to the channel and put the notifications on if you want content like this every week. And for more content about the topic of problem solving, then check out in the description any other links. The 5 whys is a simple yet powerful technique to explore the cause and effect relationships underlying a problem. By asking why 5 times, we peel the layers to eventually come to the root cause of the problem. It's a bit like an onion, and it's a bit like being a child, when they're curious and ask why for everything. Let's say your car won't start. Why? The battery's dead. Why? The alternator is not working. Why? It's beyond its lifespan. Why? It was never replaced. Why? Lack of regular maintenance. There, we found the root cause. So how do you use the 5 whys practically? Identify the problem. For that, you already know what to do from the previous part of the video. Now analyze the root cause by asking 5 whys. And you might get more answers than one answer for each why that you ask. To make sure that you keep track of all of this, you might want to be using a fishbone diagram. Eventually, you get to the root cause, and that might actually need more or less than 5 whys to ask. Now it's time for solutions. There's no point in understanding the root cause if you do not act upon it. An interesting way to solve problem is to use a strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats analysis, also called SWOT for short. The SWOT analysis will help you understand the external and internal factors which are influencing your problem. So how do you implement a SWOT for problem solving? Identify the strengths that you have and that can help solve the problem. If you're trying to get fit, you might have a passion about healthy eating, and that will support you in getting fit. Next, go for weaknesses. What are your limitations or the challenges which are preventing you from solving the problem? You might like constant motivation for exercising, and maybe you need to find a workout buddy. Opportunities. What are the external factors that you can capitalize on to solve your problem? New gym opening with special discount. Finally, threats, which are external obstacles or challenges which are preventing you from solving your problem. You have a demanding work schedule, so you might need to be planning your workout around your work. And if you don't know about your strengths, for instance, you should check out this video. The OODA Loop stands for observe, orient, decide, and act. It's a continuous cycle that helps you adapt and respond rapidly to changing situations. It's very much about being agile when doing problem solving. It was developed by military strategist and US Air Force Colonel John Boyd to deal with rapidly changing combat situations. So how do you use the OODA Loop? First, observe. This is when you gather information about the problem. What's happening? What are the facts? If you have declining sales in your business, then observe sales data, observe customer reaction, market trends. Next, orient. Here you analyze the information that you have observed. You identify patterns and understand the context. Are your sales down due to competition? Due to changing market dynamics? Now, decide. Based on your observation and orientation, then it's time to make a decision. You might launch a new marketing campaign, offer a new incentive for your customers. Lastly, act. Implement your decision and then observe the results. It's about continuing the loop. After launching a marketing campaign, you observe the sales number, you observe the customer reactions. Feedback will then inform your next move. System thinking is about understanding how things influence one another within a whole. I've talked quite a bit about it in a previous video about mental models that you can check out here. Here you look at problem solving through the big pictures, with looking at how all the elements of your problem are connected together, how they influence and impact each other. It also helps you understand the ripple effects on the system of any change that you make on one part of the system. So how can you apply system thinking to problem solving? The first step is to visualize the whole system. Think of a garden. If you only water the plants, you're missing the sunlight, the soil quality, the bugs, etc. It's about taking care of the entire garden. Then understand the relationships within the system. How does each element influence the other? In a business, for example, various departments have impact and influence over each other, they're connected. Then embrace the complexity of the problem. You might have to find a solution that is touching multiple points of the system, or a solution that will impact multiple points of the system. Solving traffic congestion is not just about more roads, it's about urban planning, public transportation, work culture. When you look at those 7 mental models for problem solving, you might get a bit confused about which one to use. Each one has a different perspective on how to solve problems, so they can be used in combination with each other. There is one though that you should always start with, is about the problem definition and framing. I will leave you with a quote from Marie Curie, a Nobel Prize winner in both physics and chemistry. "Nothing in life is to be feared, it is only to be understood. Now is the time to understand more, so that we may fear less." You have many problems on your plate and you don't know which one to prioritize? Then you might be interested in this video about mental models and prioritization.